with Joan Jett, super groupie Pamela DeBars, and Feist. So, right now, Pamela DeBars, before Pamela DeBars, Joan Jett, and then Feist. So, here is Joan Jett. Check, check, check.
Check, check, check.
Check, check, check.
That's what you like to say? I don't like to, Om Bor Svaha.
Who are you?
Who am I? I'm Joan Jett.
Joan Jett, welcome to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
So here you are on the Warp Tour. A couple dates ago, did you play a gig with the Germs? The Germs and Joan Jett together on the Warp Tour?
Yes, we did. We weren't on the same stage, but we were, in close proximity. So it was a lot of fun to see him again.
And you're in the new Germs movie, too?
Well, I'm not sure. Well, there's a couple of different movies, so I'm not sure which one. I know that they're doing a documentary, which I recently spoke to the woman doing it. So, yeah, I'll be in that one, yeah.
But you're not in the actual Shane West movie?
I personally am not, but I'm not sure if they have someone in there playing me or not.
Now, Joan, you produced the Germs. Did you really see Lemmy of Motorhead beat up Darby?
I saw him try, yeah, definitely. Yeah, because Darby came to see us in England, and, he was probably a bit out of it and was just probably I think he jumped on stage or something like that, because I don't remember so clearly either, but, and Lemmy and some of the boys started beating on him, and I'm like, no, he's a friend of mine, and Kenny Laguna, my songwriting partner, we had to stop the beating.
Joan Jett, you have your own record label, and you're still kicking and rocking with a brand new band, pretty much brand new to your label, the Eyeliners.
Yes, the Eyeliners are from Albuquerque, New Mexico. They're three sisters, and they play great sort of hooky punk rock music with great melodies.
And you're in their brand new video, spray painting a cop car. Was that a lifelong dream of yours to spray paint a cop car, Joan Jett?
Yeah, that was fun, definitely. Get my licks back, yeah.
Joan Jett, on the Warp Tour a couple days ago, there was an all-female rock band called the Randys from L.A. I don't know if you remember them or not. And they said there was a quote coming from you that said, Joan Jett said this, "It's all about the blank in rock. Gotta keep the blank in rock."
What are they saying? I wonder what I said. I could have been several different words that I used.
But I guess putting any word in there, what do you think, Joan Jett? Gotta keep the blank in rock. It's all about the blank in rock. Is it really, Joan Jett, all about the blank in rock?
Yeah, it's all about, really, it's about the connection, and part of that connection is really guttural and sexual, and I think that's some of the resistance that people have with women playing rock, because rock and roll is that. It goes right to your crotch, and it should.
Joan Jett, you have a new song called Bad Time.
Yeah, that's one of the songs on the new CD, yeah.
Did Canada at one time give the Runaways a bad time when you opened up for Rush? Were Rush mean to the Runaways?
Well, so I believe some of the guys in Rush weren't really Runaways fans, and probably made a few remarks here and there, yeah.
Now, why would that happen? Rush, I mean, that's like Canada's national band. Have you seen them since? Do you have any idea why they do that? Can you remember anything about that incident?
It's kind of vague because it was so long ago, but I think one of the guys said something derogatory about us, or, standing side stage or something, and, I just was probably very angry at the time, but as I look back on it, you just have to try to take it with a grain of salt and figure he fits into with the many people that are threatened by women playing rock and roll, and it wasn't about the music. Maybe the audience liked us better or something.
Bev, many people in Canada do love you, especially photographer Bev Davies. She took these shots here, I don't know if you remember, from the Commodore Ballroom in 1980. I don't know if you remember that gig at all.
I don't, actually, but I remember the time.
Now, looking closely, what are you wearing?
I don't know what the hell that is.
There is something around your neck. Is that a baby pacifier around your neck?
Yes, it is. It's a pacifier, and that is sort of a remembrance or something to signify something that I went through in the Runaways. And when the Runaways went to Scandinavia for the first time, to Sweden, we got off the plane and were greeted by hundreds of beautiful girls, blonde girls, like young teenagers, wearing real pacifiers and sucking on them and saying, "Can we have your autograph?" And we were like totally confused by the whole experience. You know, we had just come from Japan, where we were also held in high esteem by all the young girls, and I understood that a little more because Japanese society, sort of, you know, women are second-class citizens, so the girls were looking at us sort of as empowering them, I suppose. But the whole pacifier thing, I was confused, and I asked someone, and they said it's sort of it's a fad, it's a fashion. So one day I found a silver pacifier in a jewelry store, and I just had to get it, and that's what that's about.
From Vancouver, 1980, Joan Jett.
Yes.
Now, another Canadian that loves you is Peaches. Peaches loves you, and you love Peaches, too.
Yeah, I think Peaches is great, actually. I think she's a lot of fun. Her music is a lot of fun. And I just saw her actually play opening for 9 Inch Nails in Milwaukee a couple weeks ago.
Joan Jett, Peaches loves feminine body hair. Do you think feminine body hair is underrated?
Yeah, I guess it depends on who you ask, definitely.
Joan Jett, you also have a song called Fetish.
Yes.
Now, speaking of fetishes, is it true that the Runaways once made a pea popsicle?
Yeah, that is true.
I have this quote. "We gave one guy who messed with us a popsicle that was 10% lemonade and 90% pea."
Yeah, that wasn't all the Runaways. That was actually at my party house that we used to keep them there for if we needed them.
Then he goes, "This tastes like shit." Without missing a beat, Joan Jett said, "You're getting close."
Well, I don't know if that was exactly the words, because I don't remember who would have been there to actually repeat, but that sounds pretty close.
So why did he get a pea popsicle? And did a lot of stuff happen? Like, if you mess with the Runaways, you're going to get it.
Well, I'm not really sure exactly where the pea popsicle thing came from. It was more like revenge on people that would screw with my friends and I. And you know, maybe the Runaways, too.
Joan Jett, are you ever going to do another rap? Like, you worked with Grandmaster Flash. Is there going to be ever another Joan Jett rap?
Never say never. Maybe.
Joan Jett, I want to read you a quote from the book The Boy Looked at Johnny. It's by Julie Burchill and Tony Parsons from 1978, and it's all about punk rock. I don't know if you're familiar with this book at all.
I am. I know both of them, yeah.
It's amazing. Joan Jett is the last rock and roll star as you know it in the world. Never again will glamour, youth, melody, and desperation find their way onto a big-time stage within one teenage body.
How can you even comment on something like that? I think that they were great writers and good friends of mine, and I just feel very humbled by those statements.
It's incredible because they were complete punks. They hated everything American except Joan Jett. Let me continue. After Joan Jett, all Americans are peanuts. Then they go on to say, polystyrene of the X-ray specs is the best thing about British punk rock, while Joan Jett is the best thing about American punk rock.
I'm very grateful.
It's incredible, and that is coming in like 1977, 1978, at the height of punk rock. You are held in esteem by these snobby punks. That must have been a great feeling.
It sure was. I remember at the time when they wrote that, and it did make me feel very good, definitely.
Joan Jett, did you also party on Sid Vicious's houseboat? And did Sid Vicious really have a houseboat?
It wasn't Sid's, it was the Runaways. We rented it for a couple of weeks because we were there to make a record. And so we were living on the Thames River on a houseboat. And we never made the record because things fell through. So it wound up just sort of being a party boat. And some of the girls would party with their friends, which was more like a heavy metal party thing. And my friends were people like Sid and Nancy.
Joan Jett, were you really rescued by Manuel Noriega?
No. What do you mean?
You were in Panama and you had to be like flown out by helicopter by Manuel Noriega.
Well, I remember being in Panama, but I don't remember the whole... I believe he was a fan, or he wanted to meet me, or...
To refresh you, am I wrecking the...
No, go ahead. Come on over, Kenny Laguna.
Kenny, come in.
this is, could you please introduce, who do we have here, Joan Jett?
Yeah, Kenny Laguna is my songwriting partner, and he good one. He produces all my records, and he's my best friend now for probably 25 years at least.
Welcome, Kenny.
Thank you. How you doing?
Good. Back to Manuel Noriega.
Well, we were the first English-speaking band of note ever to go to Panama, even though those guys had that song, Panama. No one ever went. No Australians, no Brits, no Canadians. So we were in there with the first rock and roll band, and Panama as a whole country had bootlegged MTV. So they were all watching MTV, and when Joan got there, it was a huge thing. We did a television show. It was a live television show where we were doing 5 songs. I'm pretty sure it was a lip sync. By the time we were done, there were so many thousands of kids outside the television studio that a riot ensued. And Noriega's troops did come and settle that down. And it was chaos. We actually lost the guitar player, and when Joan and I were escaping in the car, we ran over his foot, and we left him behind. It was a very interesting thing. But, the Army got everybody out, and then a day went by, and some of the officials came, and they were all nervous, you could see, and they said that Noriega had sent his presidential plane from another city in Panama and wanted Joan to get on that plane and spend the evening at the palace with him. And Joan was like, no way. I'm not doing it.
An evening at the palace with Noriega.
Yeah. Doesn't that sound a little frightening? Alone.
But then, remember, Noriega's still running the country, so then the State Department, who watch when you're doing these things, and we were involved with, the American government hooked us up with this and that. Joan actually opened the Panama Canal physically with the big wheel. I mean, we were plugged in, but they were all nervous about this because the protocol has to be handled carefully. So they worked out something weird, and they whisked us out of the country on American military. And, you guys know about the American military, right?
Thank you very much for the update. Kenny always comes through, doesn't he, Joan?
Yeah, well, he remembers those details. They just kind of go...
Joan Jett, you have a song called Change the World.
Yes, I do.
Do you have any tips for winning over an audience? Because in 1982, you played a police picnic in Toronto. Do you remember that?
A police picnic.
It was called the Police Picnic. I think the police played, and...
Dirty rat. How could you know all this stuff? You know all these little things. Where do you find all this stuff?
Well, at the police picnic, I understand people were throwing hot dog and watermelon rinds at you, Joan, and you were able to overcome this. How do you win them over? Like, you were just going, how you doing, Toronto? And by the end, they loved you.
I'm not sure. Maybe it's just an ability to take the shots, and I'm not sure. Sometimes
I remember that gig. See, here's the thing. We did the tour before Every Breath You Take with the Police, and it was an amazing tour, and we were about equal at that point. And then they put out that record, and we had hits that same year, but they had that monster record, Every Breath You Take, and we started doing stadiums together. So we did 2 tours in a row with the Police. When we had a show, let's say, where the Kinks would be on it, or a good rock and roll band, the Ramones or something like that, Joan and the Police drew a certain kind of audience that was terrific and compatible. In Toronto that year, they put on like Talking Heads, Flock of Seagulls, and it was all these snobby kind of things going on where they were saying, oh, rock and roll isn't good enough for us. We have something else we're doing, whatever they called it. And I know when Joan got on the stage, the sky went black with garbage that they were thrown on the stage. And Joan doesn't really give in that easily.
Yeah, well, I've been hit with so many things, and in the Runaways I've been spit on, and I've been hit with so many things and called so many things. I'm not leaving the stage. Nobody's getting me to leave the stage. Throwing hot dogs, I don't think so. So I think just...
And even watermelon rinds, how dare they?
Well, I don't
remember
know.
There was a big sign, I hate rock and roll,
yeah,
which is like, you know what?
I'm crushed.
You see what Flock of Seagulls looks like today? You see what she looks like?
I've actually interviewed them.
Well, they're good guys, I guess, but, look what she looks like.
No, yeah, but, it's not even about being personal. It's just like... It's more about standing your ground, and I'm not sure what I would have said on stage, because sometimes I get antagonistic back at people throwing things, because you can get hurt.
But you overcame the moment, which I think is amazing. A lot of performers probably would have crumbled, but the reports were that you did it, Joan. You overcame all these punkers.
I'm not sure how I did that. I'm not
going like, how you doing? You kept going, how you doing? How you doing? And by the end, people were totally into it.
Maybe, yeah. Well, that's good.
Joan Jett, winding up here, I also want to ask you about Evil Stig. You contributed to the Evil Stig recording, and in the end, that totally helped out. Mia Zapata's murder, a cold case, was actually solved. That must make you feel great.
Oh, we were all so happy when we heard that they caught the killer. But that was a very intense time. It was very moving. It was special. It was sad, but it was also exhilarating to be able to do the Gits material and be able to sing those songs that Mia sang and made popular with her fans, and to take it around the country and explain what had happened to people, and to be in this band Evil Stig, which means Gits live. That's backwards, you know. So I'm just really honored to have been a part of it.
I have a song here from a Runaways tribute band called Cherry Bomb, and they actually have one original song called Runaways Rule. The woman, Christine, is from Portland. I think she has a Runaways or Joan Jett tattoo, and these are the lyrics. I just want to quickly run them by you. Runaways Rule, this is their original. Rock and roll rebel with a cherry bomb. All your records are banned by mom.
I like that.
Joan Jett and the Germs, Little Darby. Lita Ford loves big hair and Ozzy. Cherry Curry was a fox with Jody, doing the teenage twist like Boney Maroney. Leather, latex, and lingerie. Runaways, you make my day.
I like it.
'Cause Runaways rock, Runaways rule. Runaways gonna take you back to girl
school.
Girl school.
I knew that one.
Yeah, that was a comment there. So I guess what I was wondering, what's it like fighting Chuck Norris?
Well, you're not going to win.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you train hard for that?
No, well, actually, I think I did.
This was in a movie in Walker, right?
Yes, it was in Walker, Texas Ranger, and I think they eventually had a stunt person in there to do, you know, the real killing.
Your
and
honesty is deplorable.
Is there any way, perhaps, you might have been trained at all? Because wasn't Lita Ford a fitness instructor at one time?
Cherie.
Oh, Sherry Curry, okay. But have you ever taken classes from her?
No, I didn't need to.
Joan Jett, also winding up here, Lita Ford, did you ever go to her apartment that she shared with Nikki Sixx, in that roach-infested apartment?
No.
Where you, watched cockroaches, get burned up?
No, I think, we were already broken up by that time, so we weren't hanging out.
Joan Jett, the first time you shaved your head, was that for the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
No, I actually did it to mark the millennium, to mark this sort of change from 1999 to 2000, and sort of kind of take stock of who I am and who we are as humans. And so it was just sort of a marker or something. And then I just decided to keep it.
Because the brand new CD, the Greatest Hits reissue, has you with long hair, and before it had you with short hair. Any reason for changing it?
Well, I think we wanted to use a picture that people were more familiar with the look of my black hair, and the blonde hair a lot of times throws people.
It was remastered also. It was remastered. It sounds a million times better now because new technology ensued, and the new one has an enhanced element that's terrific. So, we wanted to do something also so that we could see the difference and make sure that the stores weren't selling off the old stuff, because we wanted to send it back so that we could give the best one. And that's why we changed the cover too.
And there's Kenny Laguna again to the rescue. I'm excited because Kenny was in the 1910 Fruit Gun Company.
Yes, he was. And Tommy James and the Shondells and several others.
All that stuff that makes you say bubble
gum.
Now, lastly here, I want to ask you about this book. Are you familiar with this book here at all? The Devil's Disciples.
I'm not.
The Devil's Disciples, The Truth About Rock.
What does it say?
Well, what it says, Joan Jett, is I open it up here. The Devil's Disciples, The Truth About Rock. Very scary, The Devil's Disciples. In 1982, Joan Jett put out a record which included a version on cassette of an old Rolling Stones tune called Star
Fucker.
With a title like that, she should have known better. But rock stars think they can get away with anything as long as we let them. When the Stones tried to market the same tune, their record label made them change the title to Star Star and mumble their way through the offensive lyric, which they did. Joan didn't bother. And boy, was she sorry. When that K-Market chain found out about the song, they refused to handle the product and started shipping back the tapes. Since cassettes now outsell albums, that hurt. Jett manager Kenny Laguna says they lost $225,000 in sales the first 2 weeks of the boycott. As other retailers heard of Kmart's action, they also followed suit. And before long, Joan Jett's new album was stalled on the charts and falling. The Devil's Disciple. What's the story behind that? What the hell was going on? How'd you get in this satanic book?
That is hysterical. You got me. I don't know how I wound up in there, but...
Do you remember any of that, Kenny?
Oh, totally remember it, because I got yelled at by all the marketing people. But what happened was we went into the artwork gets done ahead of time, because that's the longest lead time. And we had finished the artwork, and in those days, if you remember, cassettes would be uneven, so there'd be this long blank thing if one side was longer than another. So we had just enough time blank on side one to stick something in, and we looked at what was in the can, and we'd done Starfucker as a groove, because we were playing it live. It was a big number for us live, and we just recorded it and had it in the can, and we're in the mastering room, and at the last second we said, let's give them some extra music. And we thought that was a cool cut. We didn't really think the whole thing through, and when they discovered it, remember, it was unmarked, so that's the thing that got us in trouble. It didn't have any kind of warning for parents, so they'd bring it home after having, I Love Rock and Roll didn't really have any racy lyrics, so they'd get through the whole thing, and all of a sudden these parents would be listening to this thing and just freak out, just like I did when I had my little kid bought the Guns N' Roses record with "You're Fucking Crazy," and stuff. But we did get into a big hassle, and then Joan and I spent the next 3 months going around the country and going to the head offices and apologizing, and in the end we made some good relationships.
And in the end, you made the book The Devil's Disciples. Congratulations.
I'm proud of that.
I know, that is just totally awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, Joan Jett and Kenny Laguna. I think Kenny's also totally amazing. Not this is the Kenny Celebrity Roast or anything, but he got you together with some Beach Boys.
Yes.
Like, that's not too exciting for you, I don't think, is it? Like the Beach Boys.
I definitely enjoyed it.
But you got the Beach Boys. You were able to fulfill a fantasy to be able to get the Beach Boys on a Joan Jett recording. Thank you.
Where do you get all this stuff? Your research is amazing. Where do you get all this stuff?
Well, when you guys do so much great music, it's pretty hard to ignore it. Thank you. When you make it to the Devil's Disciples, I really appreciate that.
Beach Boys moment with Joan was one of the best moments of my life. And one of the really interesting things that happened there was Darlene Love was on our label, on Blackheart Records, and Darlene Love sang the Do Run Run and He's a Rebel and Today I Met the Boy I'm Gonna Marry. She's a legendary singer for Phil Spector. So Darlene Love was with us, and she came in, and when Carl Wilson, rest his soul, came by, and he said, well, who's going to be doing these backgrounds with us? I said, well, Darlene Love is there, and he says, Darlene sang on all our records. She helped arrange In My Room and Why Do Fools Fall in Love. I'm going, you're kidding. And I said, Darlene, you never mentioned it. All she talks about is Tom Jones, because she's from another era. And I said, oh, my God. So then we had Darlene, who was actually on all these original Beach Boy records. And gradually all the Beach Boys would never go in the same place together. They all showed up because we only invited one.
On Joan Jett's record, Joan Jett, anything else you want to add to the people out there at all?
Just that I'm very excited to be here in Canada, and I look forward to doing shows and meeting the audiences. And
did you mention the name of our new record? Sinner?
It's called Sinner, so that Devil's Disciple,
If you don't own this record, give up.
Why should people care about Joan Jett? Why should people care?
I'm the wrong person to ask that question.
Why should people care about Joan Jett, Kenny?
But I can't talk about, it's very hard for me to, say that.
Joan, first of all, when she started in the Runaways, they were doing it in a vacuum. There was no model. There was nobody to really to point to or to compare to. They were in a vacuum. They took a lot of abuse, a lot of hits for the home team, and that's one reason. And the other thing is that Joan has never changed her style or her focus to adjust to the music world around her. She's always been out of style from the get-go, and has managed to have a few hits in spite of it.
Well, thanks so much, Joan Jett and Kenny Laguna. Keep on rocking in the free world, and do-do-do-do-do.
Doot, doot.
She got